Peace and life, family. I hope that you I want to go ahead and give a couple of caveats first. So I want to have a conversation about a post that I put up yesterday, and a lot of people have been reposting, which is like a meme, or I don't know if that's considered a meme when it's like a picture with words, but it's I don't know if that's considered a meme, but I'm gonna just refer to it as a meme. With the meme that says "Black women are not your enemy," and I received a few comments from Black men. So most of them were agreeing. Some were saying like Black women need to prove that. Some were saying that not what some Black women are. It was one sister who responded to that comment, and she told the brother like, "You are a slave for that." So before we even have this conversation, I just want to state a few caveats. Peace. How you doing, Xavier? I'm well. I hope you're well. But I want to give a few caveats first. So first caveat is I already did a video explaining womanist versus feminist, the womanist theory versus the feminist theory. And I am a womanist. I already explained that. So please do not come in with feminist rhetoric, my sisters, and try to explain away what I'm saying with feminist rhetoric. I am a womanist, which the main difference between a womanist and a feminist is that womanist focuses on intersectionality, whereas feminists focus on gender only. A womanist focuses on intersectionality, meaning the intersections between being black, woman, the religion, socioeconomic status, and so on, right? So I am a womanist. Do not try to come at me with feminist rhetoric. I ain't here for it. Okay. The second caveat that I want to give is that I already did two videos talking about the Gayle King and Oprah situation. One of them I posed the question: are Black women like Oprah and Gayle targeting Black men, right? And in that video I explained how a lot of Black women speak from a place of unhealed trauma. When they speak on Black men, a lot of Black women have been victimized and preyed upon by some Black men, and they, instead of focusing on the Black men who treat them well and who have nurtured them and have protected them, a lot of times that trauma has affected them so heavily that they automatically paint every Black male as a predator because of that traumatic experience that has gone unhealed. So I want to give that caveat as well. And then I already spoke on previously about some of the Black male experience, which I am going to do a separate video speaking on the stereotypes of Black men and the Black male experience. However, what I spoke on previously was how a lot of Black men are spoken about and have been painted with the brush of being a predator, and how that predates our present generation, where if you look at the original Birth of a Nation movie, that movie was done with the goal of painting Black men as sexual predators, as sexually deviant, and oftentimes we in our own community have also pushed that narrative. So in this video today, I'm going to be speaking on the stereotypes of Black women and how this new narrative is being pushed within our community that Black women are the enemy of Black men. And I completely disagree with that statement. Good afternoon. We are not the enemy of any Black man. And I just want to have an open discussion, honestly. Y'all feel free to chime in and add any information or tips that you want to add. I'm always open to learning more, please. So I really want to have that open discussion about, hey, Crystal, how you doing? I really want to open that discussion about, like how we feel about the sisters, and also maybe give a further inside addition or inside explanation of how sisters feel and what we explain and what we express and what we go through and why sometimes we respond the way that we do. So let's get started. I want to give props to Dr. Caroline West, who wrote an exquisite piece about the stereotypes of Black women. When I was in college, I went to Savannah State University in Savannah, Georgia. Shout out to my HBCU attendees. And there I studied Africana Studies, and we explored the relationship that Black women have had with America. And when we say with America, we opened it up with the lens of the relationship between Black women and white men, Black women and white women, Black men, so on and so forth. So we put Black women and compare their relationships with different races and genders, right? And something that we notice is that there is a common brush that Black women are painted with, and it falls under these stereotypes. And these stereotypes have been weaponized against us with the goal to explain away the value that we have as Black women. The first stereotype is the mammy stereotype, right? So you have this stereotype of the mammy, which the most familiar stereotype of the mammy is like the picture of Aunt Jemima on the pancake box, right? With the scarf, big woman, normally dark skin, and she's smiling and she's happy and she's serving, right? So some characteristics that are associated with the mammy is she's a nurturer, she's a caretaker, she feeds the children, she nurtures the men, and she's happy to do it all. She's a strong black woman. She's the Aunt Sarah. If you are familiar with Nina Simone's Four Women, she's the Aunt Sarah of the bunch, right? So she is the big black woman who's just happy to take care of everybody and happy to nurture and, you know, be that person for everybody. She's strong. She's resilient. She can't be broken. She breastfeeds the black children and the white children. She nurtures the baby. She rubs the feet of the man, and she does all this stuff. And the stereotype of the mammy was created in order to make the black woman seem like she was happy with being forced to care for everyone, right? Now, a lot of these stereotypes are derived from slavery. And the reason that they created the stereotype of the mammy is to explain away and make people feel less guilty for having black women serve in their homes, right? So you had black women who were in servitude positions and who were forced to leave their families to go care for white children and to go care for white families, wash the clothes, feed the children, make sure that there was dinner on the table. And they painted this image of the black woman being happy to do so, right? So that's where the mammy image comes from. Now, if we break down that image, you have a nurturer, you have a caretaker, you have a sister who loves her family, who feeds her family. In my eyes, these are all positive things. But the way that American society has aligned this image, they have broken down this image and aligned it with negative things. We see being a mammy as a terrible thing, which that means that we are then saying to be a nurturer, to be a caregiver, to be loving, to cook for your family, to feed your family, to wash your clothes, to take care of your home. We are associating those characteristics with being negative, which with the results of that is you have a lot of black women who are backing away from falling into that mammy role because society has told us that these things are negative things. We don't want to be a mammy. They've weaponized this term against us. You know what I'm saying? And the whole goal of this conversation is for us to reclaim our natural rights to show up and show out as black women, however you may choose to do that. So I think about the fact that like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but in some of the comments under some of my videos, people will refer to, especially when I talk about caring for black men and like speaking up for black men, people will refer to me as a mammy in a negative way. One guy was like, "You mammy bitch." And I'm like, for me, I just thought about his mindset of he actually thought that calling me a mammy was going to hurt my feelings. But because I'm choosing to take back and reclaim my rightful identity to care for and to love my family and to care for my community and to nurture my community, you cannot use the term mammy to weaponize me. If it wasn't for mammies, we would not be where we are today. To be a nurturer, to be a caregiver, to love, protect, feed, speak up for, stand up for, lift up your family is not a negative thing. What we have to do is we have to start to remove some of those negative connotations that society placed upon these roles with the goal of making it seem as though slavery wasn't that bad. We got to remove these negative connotations with the definitions of who we truly are, because those very things are the things that we need to build up our community. We need our mammies. I think back to an episode of A Different World. I don't know if any of y'all remember this episode, but there was an episode where I think it was Charmaine and she was a chocolate sister, and then you had Wheatley, who was a light-skinned sister, and Whitley, who was a light-skinned sister, and Whitley was putting on a show for Black History Month, and she pulled out an image. The episode starts out with her showing the image of the Mammy, and Charmaine gets really upset because she said when she was younger, people would always call her a Mammy as a way to tease her and bully her for being a chocolate sister, right? And that just goes to show how the term was weaponized in order to hurt us and to demean us, because we believed that this was a negative thing. It was a negative thing to be a Mammy. It was a negative thing to be an Aunt Sarah. It was a negative thing to be an Aunt Jemima. That's what we were taught. But then once Charmaine started going back and doing research on the value that Mammy had in her community, that Mammy was the one who cooked the meals and fed her people, that Mammy was the one who was cooking the meals and poisoning master so that we could be free. It was Mammy who had to put that poison in their food. It was Mammy who had to serve them places of death so that her people could go free. So once Charmaine started studying and understanding the value that Mammy role had, she herself actually put on the play at the end to praise Mammy and to recognize the freedom that she had of breaking out of that physical caricature and embracing the characteristics that the caricature carries, right? So let me explain what I mean by that. What she did was she started taking off the head wrap and she put on a beautiful crown. She started taking off the maid outfits and she started putting on some beautiful African garb, basically saying, I'm releasing what they deem as these negative characteristics, physical traits of Mammy, and I'm embracing who she really is. Mammy is the queen of the community. She's the matriarch of the community. She's the nurturer of the community. So that is the Mammy stereotype that a lot of Black women are starting to run away from, but really it's okay to embrace that role to be a nurturer for your community. Now let's move to the next stereotype, which is the Jezebel, right? So you have this role of the Jezebel. And the Jezebel is the sister who simply she embraces her sexuality. She embraces her sexual freedom. She is okay with being sexually free, sexually open. Now, the characteristic or the role of the Jezebel was created once again during slavery time to basically say that that Black women deserve to be taken advantage of because we were whores. That is why they created the role of the Jezebel. They would often say that, oh, she's a Jezebel type. She's a Jezebel type. So Black women who had stereotypical sexually promiscuous body types. She had curves. She had breasts. She had a butt. She had a body, that was sexually desired by men. They would automatically stamp her as a Jezebel. And when you stamped the Black woman as a Jezebel, that meant that she was open to be taken advantage of sexually because she desired that sexual fetish, in a sense, because of the way her body was, because of the way she may present herself, the clothes she may wear, or the way her clothes may fit without her even trying. Because of her body shape, they made it seem like Black women deserve to be raped, Black women deserve to be sexually abused, Black women deserve to be sexually assaulted and taken advantage of because she was a Jezebel. That is why when Black women are sexually free and open today, we see them as whores. We see them as being sluts. We see them as, oh, it's okay for her to be taken advantage of because she wants this. So when we adapt that mentality, when we see like a Meg Thee Stallion, and we see the clothes that she wears, and you have some people who are like, oh, she's just a hoe. She's just a hoe. But we see that, and honestly, that's a slave mentality. And when I say slave mentality, I want to explain that because I do feel like that is a term that is completely overused and misused quite often. To have a slave mentality does not mean that you yourself are toxic. All of us are still in one way or another a victim of the slave mentality. That just simply means that the perception that we have of something or some things, multiple things, may be oppressive. And that could be oppressive to yourself or to other people around you. So that is a slave mentality. I may have a slave mentality in certain areas where there may be certain perceptions that I have that is oppressive to me. I may have a slave mentality in certain areas where there's a perception I have that is oppressive to other people. But when we see women in shorts or in tight-fitting clothing and we see them as whores, that is a slave mentality. That means that we see a woman embracing her curves and embracing her body as her being sexually promiscuous, as her being a whore, meaning that she is deserving of the treatment that whores get. We, without even knowing it, are labeling them as a Jezebel. Now, the downside of this is it has caused a lot of sisters to become sexually repressed. It's caused a lot of sisters to fear being as open sexually with themselves, with other people. I know women who have never even explored their own vaginas. Women who don't even touch themselves. Women who believe that they should not masturbate. Women who are still afraid to give oral sex or receive oral sex because they feel like that is taboo or that is disgusting. Which, going back to the womanist theory, just speaks upon that intersectionality, because oftentimes religion plays a role in how a woman expresses herself sexually. So you have these social constructs of religion like Christianity, which was placed upon us during slavery. You have these constructs that religion has placed upon us that has made a lot of women become sexually repressed. And what we do not want to happen is we don't want to allow this Jezebel image, this image of black women being sexually promiscuous and whores, to continue to make room for black women being sexually taken advantage of, or to make room for black women continuously being sexually repressed. It's two sides to that coin. You have the side of the Jezebel coin where, oh, she's a hoe, so we could do what we want. And you have the sides of the coin where there are so many women who are running away from being that Jezebel role that they now have repressed their sexuality. They run away from their sexuality. They kind of hide, because they are scared that people will see them as whores, therefore they will be taken advantage of. So let's be mindful of that Jezebel image. And my message to my sisters is that it is okay to embrace your sexuality however you choose to. For some, that doesn't mean, there's this thing where people talk about embracing the whole phase, right? The whole phase is whatever you deem as the whole phase. Okay, now me personally, I'm gonna speak for myself. I ain't for the whole phase. Okay, I'm not for it. I've tried. I tried to have a one night stand with somebody and it turned into a whole relationship. I'm just not that person. That is not my thing, but that is okay. Embracing your whole phase or your whole side, you could do that with your husband. You could do that with your man. You could be a hoe for your man, okay? But embracing the whole phase is not about the number of people you sleep with or who you are sleeping with. It's about embracing the sexual freedom and what satisfies you sexually with one person or with multiple people, if that's what you choose. Okay, Aura Sphere, you tried it too? Listen. Okay, and that's what I had to learn through my own experience of embracing the whole phase. I had to realize that what the whole phase looks like for me may not be what the whole phase looks like for you. My whole phase can occur with one person, but my whole phase looked like exploring some sexual things that I realized that I like with one person. Now, for some other sisters, their whole phase looks like exploring sexual things that they may like with multiple people. That's their business. That's their business. But my message to my sisters, I wouldn't lay it all down on Christianity. No, and it's not all down on Christianity. It's definitely not. Islam and Judaism currently try to sexually repress people. All religions and social constructs sexually repress a lot of people. I definitely agree with that. But yeah, once again, I tell my sisters often, like, embrace the whole phase, but decide what the whole phase is for you. Okay, we can't allow this Jezebel stereotype to be placed upon us and causing us to become sexually repressed or have fear of being seen as sexually promiscuous because we are scared of how society may treat us or deem us. Do what you decide to do, but make sure that the goal is that you are happy and that you are satisfied sexually with whatever it is you're doing, and be safe when you do it. Now let's move to the next stereotype. So we talked about the Mammy, we talked about the Jezebel. Let's talk about the Sapphire stereotype. And this is the one that really ties in with that topic of black women are not your enemy. So the Sapphire is the angry black woman. The Sapphire is the sister who spits fire when she speaks. She's the sister who you can't really tell her too much because she might turn up on your ass. The Sapphire is the sister who she's about her business. She's laser focused, and anything or anyone that's trying to intervene in that, she's giving them the wrath. You know, that's the Sapphire image. The Sapphire image is the image of the angry black woman, which honestly has become one of the most toxic for the community. The root of the Sapphire image was to excuse black women being executed during the slavery era. If a woman was deemed as a sapphire, she was deemed as angry, she was deemed as a liability against the plan of the slave master. She normally was the woman that was plotting. She normally was the rebel of the group. She normally was the one who wasn't with the shit. So what she would normally do is begin to rile up a community of people that she could convince to overthrow the oppressive system. And this sister was deemed as a sapphire. She was deemed as a danger. She was deemed as a threat. And because she was seen as a threat, it gave excuse or reason to take her out. That sapphire image, that image of the angry black woman, has been used against black women to weaken us and to make it seem as though if you do not shut up and go along to get along, you will be taken out because you are a threat. Now let's think about that. You have oftentimes on jobs, a lot of corporate jobs and any kind of job, where if a black woman speaks up and speaks against any of the foolishness going on in the workplace, she's seen as the angry black woman and she's liable to be fired because she's going against the system. If we think about the world of the music industry, where you have some black women who speak up and they are seen as the angry black woman, and they are then deemed as, oh, we don't support them, or we don't want to be around them, or she always complaining. We don't support them anymore. Let's take the Hollywood industry with Monique, right? A lot of people was like, when Monique first started speaking out, oh, she's the angry black woman. Monique had a double layer because she had the Mammy role and she had the angry black woman, that Sapphire role that was placed upon us and automatically deemed crazy. Absolutely. She had the angry role, the Mammy role, and she had the Sapphire role. When Monique first started speaking out, everybody saw her as the angry, bitter black woman. People stopped supporting her. People stopped rocking with her. And when she shared her side, if you really listen to her stories, she was like, look, anytime I was on the movie set and I spoke up against the foolishness that was going on, I was deemed as angry. Now, in low key, in the Hollywood community, they said she's hard to work with. She's difficult to be around. So she was deemed as the angry black woman and they blackballed her. She's the sapphire, so they blackballed her. They removed her from the industry. They tried to kill her career. She starts speaking out publicly and against some of the same black people that we mad at today, i.e. Oprah. Right? Let's think about that. Monique tried to tell us about Oprah a long time ago. Black people was like, oh, Monique just angry and she's complaining. And they deemed her as the problem because she was the sapphire. She was the angry black woman. They deemed her as the problem. But now Oprah has affected and she's harmed a lot of black men. And the black community are starting to see what Oprah is doing. And now people want to start supporting Monique. Do you see how the image works? You place this label of the angry black woman on a sister, and that causes a lot of people to turn against her, which then makes it reason enough to remove her, to kill her, to make her lose everything. We got to be conscious of that. They're all sellouts. Okay. And that's that some people have that feeling that they're all sellouts. But right now, what we're really discussing is these roles of these stereotypical roles of the black woman and how it has affected us in society. So you have this image of the angry black woman. And because we as the black community, without even realizing it, we've taken on these perceptions of each other. Black men in the original Birth of a Nation movie, black men were painted as predators. They were painted as sexual deviants. And what ended up happening was a lot of black women also adopted that view. And yes, it could have happened because of some trauma that we may have experienced ourselves at the hands of black men. Absolutely. And a lot of us have not healed that trauma. But what happens is we focus so much on the trauma that we forget to acknowledge the black men who have not traumatized us. Let me break down what I mean by that. So you have people, I love you too, thank you for supporting. You have people who we experience trauma and they've caused trauma in our lives, absolutely. For example, there may be a sister who was sexually abused. sexually assaulted by a black male at a very young age. This is her childhood view of black men, that they're predators. But that same sister may have had brothers, uncles, cousins who were also black men who loved her, who nurtured her, who support her, who protect her, who always speak positive light about her. But because she has not healed that trauma that was caused upon her, she can't even focus her energy on those brothers who have done well by her. She can't, because she's still so succumbed by this trauma. That is what's happening to a lot of us, and it's causing a breakdown in our community. So my urge is that instead of focusing on our trauma, we got to focus on our light. We got to focus on the ones who do well by us. Now, for my brothers, when I put up that image yesterday and it said that black women are not your enemy, some people were focusing on Oprah and Gail, the trauma. They were focusing on the black women who have done them wrong, the trauma. They were focusing on maybe their mother who was not there for them, the trauma. Maybe someone who took advantage of them sexually, or that sister that cheated on them, or whatever. They focused on the trauma. But what about those sisters who've done you right? What about those sisters who've done you well? What about those sisters who've spoken up for you, who've supported you? Oftentimes in our community, we focus on those few who have done us wrong as opposed to the multiple who have done us right. And my call to action is that we make a conscious decision to shift our own perception of each other. We got to make a choice to shift our perception of each other. We cannot choose to focus on the trauma. We've all experienced some sort of trauma. My mama used to say, girl, everybody got a story to tell. Everybody got a story to tell. Every brother, every sister, we've all hurt somebody, and we've all been hurt. I'm going to say that again because some of us don't like to even acknowledge that. We've all hurt somebody, whether you know it or not. We've all hurt somebody, and we've all been hurt. But we cannot focus on the trauma only. We got to focus on the ones who've done us well. I myself, I said it in multiple videos, but I'm going to say it again. I myself was sexually abused as a child by a very close male family member. But I don't focus my energy on that brother. I don't focus my energy on him. He does not deserve my joy. He does not get rights over my joy and my peace and my light. I don't even give him that. Matter of fact, I forgive him, for he know not what he do. I don't focus my energy on that trauma. Instead, I choose to focus on my brother who has protected me and loves me and nurtures me and checks on me. He texts me sometimes, sis, I love you. I choose to focus on my uncle. I was at my aunt's house yesterday. My uncle opened the door for me. My uncle for years has been an amazing example of a black man. Hardworking brother, provider, protector. He always makes sure I'm good. He always got some good political conversation for me. Very knowledgeable brother. Didn't go to college. He graduated high school, has his high school diploma. My uncle right now could go on Jeopardy and win. Okay, I choose to focus on that brother. I choose to focus on my cousin who holds me up. Anytime I'm going through something, if I call my cousin right now and say, get him, he gonna come through. I choose to focus on my energy on the brothers who have shown up and shown out for me. I don't focus on that one brother who did me wrong. I don't focus on that one male family member who took advantage of me at a very young age. I don't focus my energy on him. I choose to smother that trauma with love. I choose to smother that hate with love. I choose to focus on the brothers who serve me well. Focus on the kings I got on my corner. The kings I got who hold me up. Not hold me down, but who lift me up. Who built me up. Who even in the midst of that trauma, they still loved me and loved me even harder without even knowing that I needed it. Who have been consistently good brothers. My brother is a great father to girls. My brother's a girl dad. He got 3 girls. Great father to girls. My uncle has no children. He has 2 nieces, a nephew, great nieces and stuff. My uncle has been a great example of a black man. So what I urge my sisters to do, as opposed to focusing on the brothers who have traumatized you, who have done you wrong, try to find those kings that you may have in your corner, those kings that may be holding you up, lifting you up, those kings who hold that door, the strangers. who open that door for you when you walk in. Focus on the strangers who say, hey sis, how you doing? You look great, and keep it moving. Focus on that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes what we have to do is we just got to choose better. We got to choose positive. So when I say black women are not your enemy, what is the best advice you could give a father to pass on to his, my advice to give a father to pass on to your young daughter, and I'm going to jump straight to that. Tell your young girl that no matter what, you will protect her. A lot of black women do not feel comfortable with being vulnerable, because we feel that we have to protect ourselves from everybody, including black men. So without even knowing it, a lot of daughters feel like they even have to protect themselves from their father, not because of actions you may be doing, Joshua, not because of anything you may do, but society is teaching her that her father is deviant. Society is teaching her that a black man is a predator. Society is teaching her that black men are a problem. So you just got to constantly remind your daughter to not feed into what society is telling her, and remind her that you are her protector, that you will always be in her corner, that you will always support her. You have to be the constant and consistent living example of a positive black male, not just with your words, but with your actions. Because I don't think we realize how impactful this paintbrush that society is using to paint images of our community is. We even start to believe it. We start to believe it. I was having a conversation with my aunt, and she was talking about the Kobe Bryant situation with the girl, and she didn't even know all of the facts in the case, but she was so dead set focused on he's a predator, without even knowing all the facts in the case. And it was because, absolutely, lovely Sheree, subconsciously, she believes what society has told her, the images that we see on TV, the music that's promoted. And yes, even some of the music that we create is toxic. But we got to think, some of us are creating this toxic music, but they're creating it because they believe it, because of what society has told them. We are even pushing the own images of our own community that society wants us to push, and they are promoting it. That situation with Gayle King and Kobe Bryant is the prime example. Yes, Gayle asked the question. CBS wanted it. They wanted to push that image of a black male being a predator. They wanted to push that image of a black male being deviant and being a rapist. And they wanted to tear down his legacy, and they used a sister to do it. She asked the question, but they definitely cut that clip and posted that clip. So what we have started to do is we have started doing the work for them. Joshua, be mindful of the music you play around your daughter. Be mindful of the images that you allow her to consume of our people. Be mindful of the messages that you push. Be mindful of the women that you allow her to be around, because young girls especially are very influential. We can be easily, I say influential, influenceable. We can be easily influenced by any woman that you bring around us, especially women who have like a lot of personality. I think back to when I was younger, and my uncle had bought, my aunt married a guy, so my uncle bought his little sister that we never met. He bought her around, and she was very sexually open. And my little cousin grasped onto her like bee to honey. And she learned from her and soaked up all the information she gave, because she was, an older girl, and she was still young but older. She had a lot of personality. All of the guys loved her. But in hindsight, I realized that the message she was pushing was not positive. And even her presence in our household was toxic. So be careful of who you allow to be around your daughter, the books that you allow her to read, the shows that you allow her to watch, the things that you allow her to see on that internet stream, because these phones are powerful, right? So just be mindful of what you allow her to see, and also be open and speak to her about the images of black women. Speak to her about the Mammy, the Jezebel, the Sapphire. Explain to her that the characteristics of being nurturing and loving your family is a positive thing. The characteristics of being serious and about your business, like the Sapphire image. That's really the key with Sapphire. Sapphire has been deemed as the angry black woman, but really she's a sister who's about her business, a sister who is laser focused, a sister who plays no games and tolerates no foolishness and holds people accountable. But she has been deemed as the angry black woman because she makes people uncomfortable. uncomfortable. And people don't like being uncomfortable. Okay, so let your daughters know that it's okay to speak up and speak out. And guess what? Unfortunately, because the way society paints us, no matter what we say, we could speak out in the nicest way. We could say things with a smile. But anything that you say that goes against the system or goes against the agenda, you are automatically going to be painted as the angry black woman. So we have to teach our young girls that when these words, when these images are used against you and weaponized against you, we cannot take offense. We just gotta smile. The brother called me a mammy. I smiled. I laughed. I was like, he don't know. He don't know. I have to excuse his ignorance because the fact that he actually believes that that is a bad thing, I'm like, wow, you really think that's a negative? To call me a mammy, you think that that's a slur. You think to call me a nurturer, to call me a caregiver, to call me a lover is a slur. That's sad, but he's believed what society has told him. To call a woman a Jezebel is a slur. That's a negative thing. But in actuality, the Jezebel just embraces her sexual freedom. And it could be with multiple men or one man. But the Jezebel embraces her sexuality and her sexual freedom. You think to say that a woman is a Sapphire, an angry black woman, she's supposed to be hurt. But the Sapphire is a sister who's about her business and tolerates nothing less but the truth. Right? So we got to be careful of allowing these terms that are weaponized against us to actually be used as weapons to harm us. And actually, it's a weapon of empowerment for me. You say those things to me and I'm like, oh, thank you, because I choose to look at the positive in it. And it's really about shifting the mindset from choosing to focus on the negative, the trauma, or you can focus on the light, the positive. We can choose to focus on the trauma or we can choose to focus on the light. It's about a mindset. And the only way we will build our community is if we choose to focus on the light. When I say Black women are not your enemy, I would hope that we don't focus on the Oprahs and the Gales and the mothers who were not there and the women who cheated on you and the women who've done you wrong. Focus on the sisters who got your back. Focus on the sisters who lift you up. Focus on the sisters who feed you, who make your plate, who you see running those businesses, who birth your children. Focus on those sisters. Don't focus on the sisters who've done you wrong. Focus on the sisters who do you oh so right and continue to do you oh so right. And the same thing for my sisters. When I say we gotta love our Black men and we protect our Black men and we got some kings out here, don't focus on the brothers who've done you wrong, who've abused you, who've cheated on you, who've taken advantage of you. Focus on the brothers who protect you. Focus on the brothers who lift you up. In my other live, I talked about minding your diet. Your spiritual, mental, and physical diet. Beyond just what you eat and drink, you have to mind what you listen to, what you read, what you see, what you watch. Mind your diet. Mind what you allow to enter your physical, mental, and spiritual space. I explained before that the aura is an energy field that surrounds your body. Your aura is 6 feet outside of your body. So you gotta be mindful of what you allow into your energy field. What do you allow within 6 feet of your energy space? My mother used to always say my personal space. She used to be like, you all in my personal space. But how she used to explain it, she used to say her personal space was if I could reach out and touch you, that means you in my personal space. But actually it's bigger than that. Your personal space is within 6 feet of you. Your energy field reigns 6 feet outside of your body. So you got to be careful of what you allow in your personal space. And that doesn't mean that you can't allow any negativity, because if you are a healer, which we all are, we are all healers in our own right. If you are a healer, you may need to allow some negative energy within your aura so that you can help heal and help them transmute that energy into positive. So, for example, I am a healer. Sometimes I have to allow negative energy into my energy field because I need to help people transmute their energy using various healing practices. But you got to know what you're doing. You got to be mindful. When I allow that energy to enter my space, I am mindful of it. So when I allow myself to hear certain things, to listen to certain songs, I'm listening to it with the understanding of what this may be. and I'm already guarding my grill. I'm guarding my energy. I'm guarding my light. I'm guarding my love. And I'm not allowing myself to absorb that perception. If I listen to a song with a brother referring to a sister as a bitch or a whore, I'm not allowing myself to absorb that energy to transmute my thinking of all women being bitches and whores. I'm understanding the space that that brother is speaking from. When I watch something and it's a sister speaking down on a black man, like when I watched the clip of the Gayle interview with Lisa Leslie, I wasn't looking at it like, oh yes, looking for something to agree with. Yup, he shouldn't have did that. Yup, she right. I wasn't looking at it like that. I'm looking at it in an objective way. And I'm putting myself in Gayle's shoes and Lisa's shoes and Kobe's shoes and Vanessa Bryant's shoes. But I'm still remaining who I am. You got to know yourself and know your energy. Mind your energy field. Remain who you are. Decide who you want to be. Do you want to be a person who focuses on trauma, or do you want to be a person who focuses on light? Do you want to be a person who focuses on the people who have hurt you and harmed you and done hurt or harm to you, or do you want to focus on the people who have nurtured you and loved you? The only way that we will grow as a community is, once again, if we focus on that light. Okay, so once again, when I say black women are not your enemy, I beg of you, please focus on the black women who have not been your enemy. When I say these things, do I mean all? Absolutely not. I was talking to a sister yesterday who said, I hate being black. I was like, whoo. I was shocked. I've never even heard anybody say that in person, but I also had to respect her feelings. Okay, talk to me, sis. How you feel? And I listened to her and we talked, and I actually was able to explain some things to that sister and help her get a deeper understanding of the power that we hold as black people. But that's not a sister that I'm speaking about when I say black women are not your enemy. I'm not saying all black women, but I'm saying I choose to focus on the sisters who are not, because there's more of us out there than it is of sisters who are your enemy. We got to stop believing these images that are put out and start really doing some research. I had to remind that same sister, because she was like, I hate black men. She was like, all black men do is marry white women. And I was like, actually, studies have proven that most married black men are married to black women. That's not statistically true. That's not accurate information. That's just the image that the media has put out there. Most black athletes are married to black women. The image that the media has put out there is that, oh, when he get on, he leave your ass for a white girl, according to Kanye West, who, look what he did. But everybody is not a Kanye West. Everybody is not a Michael Jordan. You got a lot of black brothers like LeBron James, multiple black men who are married to black women. So we got to stop believing what the media is showing us and really start doing our research. We loving on each other out here. We're supporting each other out here. Once again, we are reading, and I thought I was the only one that talked. Listen. We are reading, we are loving on each other. We are supporting each other, and what we really got to do is we got to really focus on the people who love us and who support us and who are getting educated with us, so that we can continue to have these conversations to build each other up and remind each other of exactly who we are and the power that we hold. We have the power to choose to love each other. We have the power to choose to change the narrative within our community. I appreciate there was the movement that was started by Lil Duval and Charlemagne, where they was like, black men don't cheat. And granted, they are black men who have admitted to cheating. But what Charlemagne explained was like, we're just trying to change the narrative. Because he himself admitted that, like, look, he was sexually promiscuous because society told him that as a black man, he would have higher rank if he slept with more women. And he believed it. And I know sisters are tired of hearing that excuse, but it's real. It's the same reason why a lot of black women don't sleep around, because society has told us that if we sleep with more than one hand worth of men, then we're a whore. Both sides have been affected. Both sides, it's problematic for both of us, okay? But what we have to start doing is deciding who we want to be aside from those images. We got to remove the negative associations and connotations that we have with these things and decide, what do I like? What do I enjoy? Who do I choose to be around? We got to really, really love on each other in that way. But loving on each other starts with loving ourselves. I always say, if you want to build a strong community, you want to build a strong tribe, you got to be strong within yourself. When is the last time you shown your tribe some love? When is the last time you shown your tribe some support? When is the last time you complimented a brother or a sister that you seen in the street that's a stranger and kept it moving without expecting anything in return, not even a thank you? We got to start loving on each other, but you got to love on yourself first. When you walk past that mirror today, compliment yourself and love on your own blackness. Forgive yourself for some of the trauma that you may have caused on other people. Forgive yourself for allowing people to traumatize you and not protecting that 6-foot energy field. You know, forgive yourself, and then you can forgive the people who have traumatized you. But in the meantime, focus on the people who have done you well and done you right. Okay, I'm out, family. I hope that this video was helpful. I'm going to do another one diving deep into the stereotypes of black men, the stereotypes that have been placed upon black men, and how that has affected our community, aside from just being a predator. You know, there's a lot of negative stereotypes that people have painted about black men that are not true. I even went over some of them in this video. But I want to continue this conversation because, once again, my intentions with my YouTube is just to build a wellness-centered community. I want us to have a holistically well community, a community where we can have these open conversations and agree to disagree. You know, we're not going to always agree on everything. There may be some things that I may have said in here that you may not agree with, and I'm okay with that. I'm not perfect, nowhere near it. I'm always willing to learn. That's why I always say, please feel free to leave your advice and your tips. I can't always read the comments because they disappear so fast, but I always go back and I watch it again and I read y'all comments and stuff like that. So I'm always open to discussion, and I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate y'all for commenting. Aura Spirit, Natty, thank you so much, Natty. I appreciate you. Joshua, thank you for that beautiful question. I thank y'all so much for joining. If you have any other questions, leave it in the comments below. Shout out to Crystal, highly favorite. Okay. Much peace, y'all. I appreciate your time. Enjoy y'all Sunday. And once again, choose to focus on the people who are light energy in your life. Choose to focus on the women and the men who nurture you and care for you. And then heal that trauma. Okay? Heal that trauma. Love y'all. Much peace.